Hey y'all, getting ready to inspect my hive. So I mentioned last week that you should really get in your hives weekly if they are building foundationless comb, which is what they are doing here. I haven't been in it since last Thursday. I really wanted to get in it this weekend, but we had some things going on with our schedule and we had some people in town and I wasn't able to do it. So although it's overcast and cloudy today, which is not the ideal time to inspect your hive, you really want to inspect your hive when it's nice, bright, and sunny outside so that most of the foragers are out of the hive foraging. But sometimes you just have to work on your schedule and not necessarily the bees. I've checked the weather to make sure that we're not scheduled to get any rain because that would really make them very upset if they got rained on. And so I'm just going to go after it and get the top box inspected. It should be a relatively quick inspection, assuming that they haven't built a ton of cross comb. So I'm going to try to stay out of the hive I'm going to try to make this inspection as quick as possible so that I can get in and get out because of the weather. But if there is cross comb, I'm going to have to correct it. And I did realize that last week I forgot to explain exactly what a brood box was. And I said I would show you, and I forgot to do that once I got all set up and got started inspecting. So let me just flip my camera around really quick and I'll show you what I mean by bottom deep, top deep, etc. Okay, so when I say top deep, I am referring to this box right here. When I say bottom deep, I am referring to that box. So the first and second are just how they're stacked, and then brood boxes come in either deep or medium. So mediums are shallow, so they're about half the size of this. And so for this hive, I will be putting the Flow Super on this. But when I get my other hive set up, which I expect to put it over there, I already have the hive, but this hive is not going to be needing to be split until at least next spring, I think. So even if they show signs of needing more room, I don't know if I will split them if they don't show signs of wanting to swarm, which late in the season they shouldn't, but we will see. So I have the box ready to go if need be, but I don't expect to need it until next spring. So anyways, I will be putting a medium super. A super is just the honey box for those of you that may not know. I will be putting a medium super box on my next hive. So the reason I'm doing that is because I want comb with honey in it. I want to be able to cut the comb out. I want to be able to eat the comb with the honey in it. And then this one will have the actual Flow Super on it, which is the one that I've showed in previous videos. If you haven't seen that, you might go back and refer to some of the older videos. I videoed the super itself and I explained how it works, but it's just a turnkey honey flow that just flows out into a jar, which is really neat. I know people have some issues with Flow Supers, but I think if they're prepped correctly with beeswax and some things like that, they're not near as much trouble. And once they get established, they're super easy based on the research I've done and what I've seen. So anywho, let me just go get my equipment and we'll get set up. It's really, I'm getting some sprinkles, but I did look at the radar and I didn't see anything on the radar. So I'm gonna get all my stuff ready to go, and then if it looks like it may end up sprinkling or raining, I might hold off for a little bit, but we'll get everything set up and then we'll see. All right, so just going to get everything set up here really quick, get my smoker going, and then we'll see how these bees are. They seem really calm right now, and although it's overcast, they're going in and out quite a bit, so I don't expect this to be too much trouble as long as we can get this done before the weather gets any worse. So let's just get to it. I'm gonna go with my thick gloves today, just in case they are a little bit irritated with the weather. So thick leather gloves, they can't sting through. The plastic nitrile gloves I do use, they don't particularly love to sting through those, and I've never been stung through them. But I'm gonna play it safe today and go with leather. I'm gonna get my smoker going really quick and then we'll get started. Oh, and I also show you how I deal with mosquitoes with having bees. Obviously, I don't spray any insecticides, so I'll show you what I have tried recently. It's also, I think it's on Amazon Prime Day, so I will be able to send a link there if it is on sale. If not, I'll still share the link with you all. But they're called Mosquito Dunks, and I've been trying them out recently, and I've really been happy with them. I've been trying them out for like the last week and a half, and I think they're pretty awesome. I need to get a torch instead of a regular lighter. It is so humid out here. I'm already sweating. All right, now that I've jacked around for a little while, let's get this thing open and let's get it looked at so that we can get out of here. I didn't feed them this morning because it's easier when all of these bees are outside of this feeder, but they're not. So we're gonna take this down, we're gonna set it aside. First signs that I see through this top inner hole cover, I see straight comb. So let's pray that all of it's like that. It's starting to sprinkle. I'm gonna give it a second and see if it stops. All right, I really don't think it's gonna rain. Let's just do it. So as I mentioned in the last video, you have to pry everything off because bees glue everything together. They glue everything down. They glue everything together. and it's called propolis. So that is just basically bee glue. They seal any and all cracks and holes with that. And it's just a very sticky substance. So I'll get this top cover off. I will flip it over to make sure the queen is not on the lid, because I do set this on the ground. The queen cannot fly very well if she's mated. And if you put her on the ground, she might never get back in the hive and you don't know that she's on the ground. I don't see her on here, but here is a good look at, you see this line here? That is the propolis, that is the bee glue. I see some cross comb. Doesn't look too terrible, so let's check it out. I'm gonna work from this side to this side. I don't see any work done on these frames over here. Maybe 1, 2, 3-ish. Don't have anything on them. So we'll start over here where all the action is. This gets the morning sun, so they tend to build on this side first. So far, they're super chill. So this frame looks pretty good. It's very straight. Honeycomb is built slightly at an upward angle so that the honey and the nectar doesn't fall out. But you can see here in some of these darker cells, they have some capped honey right here where the whitish stuff is. And then I don't know if you can see it really well, but down here, right in here, there is some pollen. And I don't see the queen on this frame, but I don't expect to see the queen up here. It's best to work on the outside frames inward if you can. The queen, if she's there, she tends to be on these inner frames in the middle. She will probably be down here in this first box because that's where most of her brood is. I didn't see any brood up here last time I inspected, and I don't really expect to this time of year. We're in a dearth, which just means the nectar and the pollen are pretty scarce, which I think is why they are foraging on everything that is in the raised beds back here that is close to their hive. They usually don't forage that close to their hive. But if the queen is there, generally, not always, but generally she is in these middle frames, protected in the center with where her brood is, and that's generally where she lays. She will lay drone brood on the outer edges because drone brood isn't near as important to the hive. Really pretty. Almost down to the bottom. It is connected at the very bottom in a couple spots, but very pretty frame. Some people asked in the last video if I would show the queen. And next time I do a full inspection and I can find her, I absolutely will show the queen. So you want to get in here. It's probably a little bit hard to see, but I'm going in between these frames, knocking the bees out of the way. Knocking the bees out of the way, and then just basically levering these frames apart. It's the easiest way to get the propolis off. So frames are generally stapled or nailed together. Like right here on top of this frame, it's nailed to the rest of the frame. And when the frames get really heavy, they can get super heavy with comb and honey and pollen and nectar. And when they get really heavy, you don't want to just be pulling on the top bar of your frames, because that nail can come out and then you're in a situation where you don't have a top bar or anything to grab onto that frame, and it's just a mess. So if you release the propolis first, it'll help you get those frames up and out, and it will also prevent you from having broken frames and having to deal with that mess. This frame is pretty heavy, has a little bit of capped honey on it. This comb is a little bit wonky. You can see over here where my backhand is on the side by my thumb, how it protrudes out a little bit. And then you can kind of see it on this side as well. So I'm going to fix that. What I'm doing there is I'm just trying to set this frame down without squishing any bees. That side is fixed. And I'll show you what burr comb looks like here in just a second. Another question I had on the last video was, why can't you just use a bee brush to scrape off the bees? And you can. This is burr comb. This is burr comb. It looks a little bit different than regular comb. It's a little bit of a different color. They kind of build it in random places, and I will scrape it off and save it. But now this frame is pretty even. You can't see anything major protruding from either side. So this one's good to go. Bees do an amazing job of cleaning things up and getting things back right when they have been like somewhat messed up. Everything in this frame is nectar and honey and a little bit of pollen. See this guy? How he's trying to take off with this rubber band? They're trying to get this out of their hive. See him flying around with it? I told you last week that they will chew through these. Look, it's like I have a dog on a leash. He's doing his best to get it out of the hive. That's pretty cool. They don't like unkept hives. They don't like anything foreign in their hives. So like I said, they will eventually eat through those rubber bands and take them out, which is what they were just trying to do. There's some burr comb on this. Come on, ladies. We did so well on the first deep. This one's worse. See it? And you can see that there, that fold, that can't happen when you go to do an inspection or things like that, and they have a fold like that in their comb. You could risk squashing the queen, so I'm gonna have to get that off of there. That's gonna be messy. And then they kind of have a protruding spot out over here. I don't think that's too big of a deal. We're pretty close in line, but that has to come off. Maybe figure out what the easiest way to do this is going to be, but this comb is really straight. I think I'm just going to pull this comb off. I've got to get this flap removed. I think I'm going to take the smaller piece off. It makes more sense. Even though this is straight, I just can't leave this there. Come on, girls. Come on. Come on. Go. Talk to them like they're kind of dogs. I hate doing this, but it is necessary. Watch out, girls. My neighbor is jamming right now, and so I may have to edit some of this video because I won't be able to have this music in there. All right. This comb really is pretty wonky, but I'm not going to do anything else to it. All right, we're really struggling on these middle frames here. Again, double comb. This one should be a little bit easier to get corrected. I'm just going to take that small piece off and then rubber band that bigger piece. It's also, I should mention, my hive is perfectly level, but it is important to keep your hive level from side to side, because if it isn't, they'll tend to make comb that's off track like that. I'm not sure what's just causing them to make comb like this, especially since the first deep was so perfect and my hive is level. It's just bees will be bees. It's also pretty important to work slow and steady when you're in here. Also, some people asked last time, why do you not use wire on your frames? And again, just a personal preference. I want it to be completely natural, no wires, no foundation, nothing. They're bees, they'll figure it out. Something interesting too, in some frames you can see, well, I just spotted another spot that I need to take care of. You see these holes? In some frames they'll leave these holes right here to do walkthroughs. Pretty clever. Okay, this is interesting. All right, well, that frame was worse than I thought. They kind of had like a little cave, like a hollow cave, which is weird. But again, bees will be bees. I'm asking them to build how I want them to build, not how they would normally build. They're about done with me. Can you hear them? I don't know if you can hear them over the music next door, but they're getting frustrated with me. And when I smoke the hive, they get really loud, which is an indication of like, okay, I'm about tired of your stuff. Get out of here. But I got to get this stuff fixed, so All I'm trying to do basically is redirect what they're doing. Probably stick this on some outside frames that they haven't started building on yet. Some of these smaller pieces, those are just going to end up going with me. There's not much I can do about those, but I will save them because I will save the wax. Pretty good. I'm going to leave it. There's zero activity so far on these other frames. So I was just scraping propolis off the side. This is what it looks like. Very sticky. Just helps to keep things kind of cleaned up. And they won't get so bogged down and sticky. Get the frames real tight and pushed together. I'm just going to take this from them. I am very happy with my bee numbers though. They are doing well. I obviously have a queen. I'm not sure at some point if I missed a super seed cell or a queen cell, because initially I did have, like probably a month ago, I found a dead queen outside the hive with a lot of attendants around her. So I don't know if it was my queen or not. My queen's not marked. And so that is one of the benefits of having a marked queen, but I like to kind of try to train myself to find the queen without her being marked, because if you're looking for a virgin queen or something and you're not used to looking for queens, it can be very difficult because they look very similar to worker bees. And so I just chose not to mark mine, and that's just personal preference. But I don't know if I missed a queen cell at some point, but I did have a dead queen outside the hive. But I just chose, it was later in the season, so I chose to just let them do their thing. and they've seemed to figure it out. But I haven't done, I haven't seen the queen since then, so they seem to be doing okay though. You see me sweating. It's overcast and cloudy, and I am sweating through this bee suit. Okay, and it is fairly important to put the frames back in as you got them out. So that's what we're gonna do. This is a really pretty frame. Look how perfect that is. And this is how they built on the first deep. Sorry, but I stepped. All right, last frame. Okay, perfect timing because I feel some sprinkles. So let's get out of here. not gonna put the lid all the way on. I need to go get some 1-to-1 sugar syrup and get them fed. They are out of sugar water. I'll go get some sugar water and I'll show you how I feed them. You need to feed them 1-to-1 this time of year when you are expecting them to build foundationless comb. All right, 1-to-1 sugar water is what I use. It's literally just like it sounds. 1 cup of granulated sugar, white granulated sugar, to 1 cup of water. So you don't want to boil the water to get it hot. You want to just make sure that I just use cold water and then I stir it up in a pitcher. And again, it needs to be granulated sugar, white granulated sugar, not organic, nothing fancy, just white granulated sugar. All right, and so as promised, here is the bucket for the mosquito dunks. So I'll go over in the garage here in just a second and show you what the mosquito dunks actually look like. But what you're supposed to do is fill up a bucket of water and put some, lawn clippings or garden scraps or anything like that in there, kind of let it ferment for about 12 to 24 hours, and then throw the mosquito dunk in there. And then what happens is the mosquitoes will lay their larvae in that water that's below, and the mosquito dunk will kill the larvae. It is intended for organic gardening, so that makes me feel good. I will be getting a different bucket, so I wanted to test these out first before I said anything about it. I didn't want to go invest in a bucket and paint it, kind of camouflage it, because what I'm probably going to end up doing is sticking one back there somewhere. That way it's kind of camouflaged, but it will attract all the mosquitoes so that we don't deal with so many mosquitoes this time of year. This guy doesn't like mosquitoes that much either, but we don't spray for mosquitoes, obviously, because we have bees, but spraying for mosquitoes is bad. It kills a lot of beneficials, and if it gets on plants that beneficial pollinators use frequently, then you lose those beneficial pollinators as well. So we choose not to spray for mosquitoes, and I would strongly recommend that you look into exactly what you're getting and when your pest companies are spraying and how they are spraying. Are they spraying things that pollinators are attracted to, because they're technically not supposed to do that? So I would encourage you to do your research on that if you're someone that sprays for mosquitoes. But let's just go in the garage really quick and I will show you the mosquito dunk. Okay, and here is what they look like. They are affordable. They are intended for organic production. You can see there. And this is not a sponsored post. I will share the link from Amazon, but this is not a sponsored post from Mosquito Dunks. I just have really liked them thus far and have been really happy with them for an organic option to eliminate mosquitoes. and not have to count on a pest company to spray something that is damaging to beneficial pollinators and other insects. And this is what I typically look like after working with my bees. It is really hot and sweaty. I typically sweat through all of my clothes, even with an overcast and cloudy day. So anyways, I hope that this video was a nice progression from last week's video. Like I said, I don't know that it's going to be a ton different, but for those of you that wanted to see a different perspective, this will be it from last week, and see kind of how they progressed from last Thursday. So I will have a couple extra videos for you this week. I need to get a flower arrangement done probably tomorrow, and then I need to get some perennials transplanted from up front. They're not doing fabulous in their positions. Either they're not getting enough water via sprinkler, or I just didn't put them in the right place because they're getting some unexpected afternoon sun that I wasn't counting on. So anyways, you should see a couple more videos this week as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye.